International feel for you guys again today. You'll remember on the last episode we covered the shock announcement that Carla will not be coming back as Czechia's head coach for the women's national team. Today we're going to talk about who her successor is, because it's already been confirmed, and this is interesting. This I kind of feel is a very interesting pick. Okay. Now, surprisingly, it is one of her fellow PWHL coaches. Okay? And it's none other... Are you ready? It's none other than the Banker of Gornais, Brian Idalski. I know, I couldn't believe that, right? So it's like, so we're swapping Carla out for Brian, who, let's face it, hasn't had the best starts to life as a PWHL head coach, and also isn't taking it quite well, because he basically said that the reason the Gornais have struggled is travel. He basically blamed it on travel. And I'm like, Brian, everyone has struggled with travel since day one, okay? I mean, look at us in Season 1. We were the only West Coast team in Season 1 and Season 2. But did we moan about it? Did you hear Ken Cleveland in trouble? No! Okay? Let's not forget, all these East Coast teams, so Boston, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, New York, they've had to go to the Pacific Coast this year. Okay? So, everyone has had to deal with travel, Brian. Okay? Everyone. But he tried to go for the easy route and said, that's the reason why the Gornais have struggled. Well, I think there's more reasons why the Gornais have struggled this year, Brian! And we have got an episode on that. It should be out fairly soon, or by now. I mean, we make so many episodes, I lose track of when they have or have not been published. But yeah. So... yeah, but so Brian Idalski, now he has got previous experience when it comes to hosting international competition, well, being a coach, I should say, when it comes to international competition. I'm not all over the place there, aren't I? I know. Oh, God, I know. So... Idalski's got 25 years experience as a head coach in women's hockey. And he started at the University of Wisconsin since Stevens Point at the NCAA Division 3 level. He spent 10 seasons there. And he's pretty much worked his way up the ranks. And then he even also was China's women's national team head coach in 2022. That's why I got the tongue tie with saying hosting, because obviously China was a host team in Beijing. But if I remember rightly, China had a very terrible time in the Olympics. Well, the host nations tend not to do well in the Winter Olympics. I mean, I've been involved with the women's game since 2010, and Canada is still the only team that has won on home soil during my tenure. And I think that's also the same for the men's side as well. Obviously, USA will look to change that in 8 years' time when we go to Salt Lake City. No, but the host nations tend not to normally do well. Or in the case of Russia, get yourself disqualified. Don't do drugs, kids! They're naughty and they kill. Don't do drugs. Because if you do, you'll get banned for life, okay? In sporting events, so don't do them. Don't do it, kids. Okay? Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, it would have been a nice, refreshing change to see Italy do so well this year and actually get to the quarterfinals. Obviously, they stood no chance when it got to the quarterfinals. It was always going to be a horrible pick for Italy, whoever they got, and unfortunately, they got us. Canada probably would have been just as bad as bad Italians. It would have been just as bad for you guys. So, anyway, yeah. So Idalski has got experience hosting a national. Sorry, why am I saying hosting? Oh my god, why am I saying hosting? What is it with me today? God, must sleep deprived. Is that what it is? My head, I'm not right mentally today. Headspace, instructions. I don't know. He has got form. He has spent time with a national team. It just so happened it was when they were hosting the Winter Olympics. That was, of course, back in 2022. And since then, he... hold on, I've got it here. So... Right, so since then, he moved back to the NCAA, where he served as head coach at St. Cloud State until he got hired back last summer to be the organised berth of a head coach. And of the 3 hirings last summer, he was the only one that actually had the credentials. Steve O'Rourke had never coached women's hockey, and Chris Spurr, never mind not coaching women's hockey, but he hadn't even been a head coach before the start of this year, and look what he's done in his first term. It's not bad. So apparently, he wasn't the only candidate. It's believed, this is according to the Hockey News, by the way, it's believed that the Big 12 head coach, Corey Shepherd, went deep into the process with Czechia hockey, but may have stepped away from the process to return. May have stepped away from the process to focus on the soon-to-be Team Canada vacancy. Yeah, that's not confirmed yet. Obviously, since we got back Vladimir Cortina, Troy Ryan has been making hints that he might not be coming back with Canada. And of course, Corey Shepherd, you would think would be the Carla, the heir apparent. So obviously, she was his assistant head coach in Vladimir Cortina. She's also been assistant head coach in the last couple of international competitions. So I would not be surprised if over the summer we get word that it's a straightforward, transition, and she's now the new head coach for Canada. That would not surprise me one bit. And Corey Shepherd, she's one of the best of the game right now. She's managed to coach the Big 12 to back-to-back league titles. Obviously not had that much playoff success yet, but I wouldn't be mad with that decision. I think that would be a really good decision. I think Corey Shepherd would be a really good shout, a really good pick, especially as Canada. They're going to need to learn lessons if they want to stand a chance in the French Alps, because that tournament they played in the Marquis was the worst I've seen of them. So I think it wouldn't be bad to go down Corey Shepherd. I think that would be a very good pick. Yeah, that's not confirmed yet. When we do have confirmation, we will do it. I do not want to do gossip on this show. I do not. In my other interests outside of women's hockey, we can do gossip, but not here. Not here. I don't want to do an episode on one thing, and then the next day it then turns out that's completely different and was just a waste of our time, okay? I only want to give you the cold, hard facts, okay? So there is high speculation that we're going to see a vacancy in Team Canada. When we get that confirmation, I will be back here to do it. Yeah. But that's interesting how Czechia tried to sort of go for it. So that just shows that if there is going to be a vacancy in Canada, you might want to strike while the iron's hot, because Corey Shepherd sounds like she's going to be very sought after. Especially if she gets another nomination for Coach of the Year, because I could easily see her going up against Chris Spurr. And we can have that debate about who deserves that crown and who deserves that gong. Anyway, so Idalski's experience serving as head coach at the 2022 Olympics was certainly an asset in the process. That's there. So Czechia had a disappointing 5th place finish at the 2026 Olympics, despite a roster featuring the 3rd most PWHL players behind, obviously, Canada and the USA. And if you go and check back the roster episode on the Olympic, that we did on the Olympic Show for Czechia, so that was back in January, we were all quite impressed with the squad that Czechia put forward. It was a very well balanced team where it came to the PW side. It wasn't stacked with players from one particular team like Canada was. Yeah, we were very impressed with it. And I, of course, did think Czechia had very high hopes going into La Cortina, mainly because of how well they've done in the last 4 World Championships. That was what I was basing my thoughts on. But yeah, so it's interesting. Now Brian Idalski, he hasn't done that bad with Vancouver this year. Obviously, you know, the Golden Eyes absolutely not where they were supposed to be this year. I had them as my Walter Cup pick. So if it's not the Frost, I like it to be this team. That was my pick. I don't normally in sports. I don't normally do championship picks because for 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm loyal to the bone when it comes to my sports teams. That's number 1. Number 2 is when we get to the actual playoff time, things can completely change. Okay? So, but I did kind of say, we're back to the start of the season now, so back in November, I did kind of say, okay, if it can't be the Frost, I'd like it to be the Golden Eyes. Because I would just love if another team who in their first season won the World Cup, so we can then say, look, we weren't the only ones. It is doable. And I stand by what I said with Vancouver, that you will get a cup in your first 5 years. It will come. Okay? The fact that you've got the goal plan, you're going to be doing well on G17, I think this team could definitely make playoffs next year. So it hasn't been great for Brian Idalski in Vancouver this year. It's not been a good first season. But I kind of feel there's a lot that the Golden Eyes can take away from that first season and build on that for the future and the years to come. So I think Vancouver is going to be the most improved team going into next season. That's largely because of how stacked this draft class is going to be. The fact that Vancouver gets to pick first in every round. Okay, yes, you are going to face heavy losses in the expansion process starting in a few weeks' time, but I feel that Vancouver can easily replace what they've lost in the expansion, in the entry draft. I don't see that being a problem. The question is, how badly will the Golden Eyes be hit? We'll see. But yeah, so it hasn't been great. They did a lot of travel, particularly with the Takeover Tour. Because I think, was Edmonton the only West Coast city that Vancouver got to do? Apart from Denver, was it just the Mountains time zone? Because I think Vancouver, they did play in Detroit against Boston, and they played in Quebec against Montreal. But the other 2 cities was Edmonton and Denver, which of course are more the mountain time zone. So I think a trip to Detroit and Quebec also might play a factor as well. Whereas Seattle went to Hamilton in the east. The rest of theirs was kind of stuck in the central and mountain time zones. Okay, so you've got a case there, Brian, but it's not really a case. Yeah, so I just look at this team and think, okay, this team it could be a potential threat in the future, and I think Brian Idalski, he could learn a lot for what he's done to organise in year 1 and take that not just into year 2 but also for Czechia, because obviously the World Championships will be happening in November. It's the 6th to the 16th of November this year in Denmark. So he's not actually got that long to prepare, Brian Idalski. So obviously we're in May. November will be here before we know it. I know that doesn't sound like it. I know that doesn't sound like it, because obviously once we've had the draft, the long hot summer then begins. We've got nothing to talk about until we get to probably end of September, beginning October. We have schedules, take a tour details, and for some teams, New Jerseys. So obviously Vancouver, Seattle, you've got to put your crests on. And then obviously we've got the expansion teams and their new threads. Yeah, so he actually hasn't got that much. So when you think about it, he actually hasn't really got that much time to prepare. So I think with Czechia, I'll see how Lady feels about this when we do the team preview. But I think with Czechia, I think we might need to give some leniency going into Denmark, because they've got a brand new coach who's going to do things completely different compared to Carla. It's the same with Sweden. Sweden also made a coaching change, but I think with Sweden, because of where they're at compared to where Czechia's at, with Sweden, it won't bother that much. With Czechia, it will, because you would have thought going into Denmark, Czechia would be another medal favourite again. But now there's been a coaching change. Can you still argue that case? I think right now the answer is yes. If we get to Denmark and things aren't going well, then you might have to go, ooh, is there a problem? Because that's what happened with Argentina. Going into Argentina, I was like, okay, yes, Czechia, medal favourites. And then it got to their first few days, and you thought, oh, okay, I smell a problem here. Something's not right. Something's not right. And of course, Sweden did what they did. Got through to the semi-finals. Oh, Czechia. Yeah. I think even if Finland hadn't got norovirus, it still would have been Czechia, Sweden, the quarters. Because Czechia managed to get a win and a shutout loss in their games, and Finland only got one win. That was over Switzerland. That was the game they were going to definitely have, and the rest were just no points. So I think even if Czechia had won that game over Switzerland, it still wouldn't have changed things. They still would have been third in Group A. They still would have played the winner of Group B, which was Sweden, and it still would have been just, But at least that qualifying match was close. It was a close game. It was only being about 2-0 Sweden there, so it was a really close contest. So yeah. But I will have a chat with Lady about this when we do the team previews for Czechia, because we've got team previews coming up in the run up to Denmark. When we get to Czechia, I'm gonna be. In fact, is Czechia early in the team previews? Because we're gonna be doing it by groups. So I've got it set up. We got it set up. Just need to find the document. Czechia will be our second team preview, because we're doing it by groups. We're going to do Group A first, and then we're going to do Group B. So we'll start with USA, and then we'll do Czechia, So yeah, so Czechia's going to be our earliest team previews. They'll be the first team preview we do after the USA. So obviously we're doing USA first, and then we'll be doing Czechia. So Czechia will be the second of the team previews that we will be doing over the summer. So it will be me and Lady, and we'll just give our thoughts about how we feel about each team going into Denmark. We'll also be using their previous international tournament as a baseline on how we think they'll do in Denmark. Yeah, so keep an eye out for those over the summer. That'll be on the main show feed, because that's where we're going to do all international hockey stuff. It'll be the main show feed. Okay, so yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing over the summer. We have already done an episode on the tournament format. Because obviously this year it's a brand new format. We've already done an episode on that, so if you're confused how it's going to work in Denmark, don't worry, we've got you covered. Go and check it out. And that explains to you how the format's going to work in going forward, being in November 2026. Yeah. So I think it's a good. If you're going to pick a replacement for Carla, I think it's a good pick. It's a good option. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel because, Czechia to me was not one of those nations that needed to make a switch. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I don't feel Czechia was one of those nations that needed to make a switch. I think it's a bit of a bizarre move. It's a bit of a rogue choice to do, and I just think I just don't know what to make of that. I mean, if you guys check the last time, I was literally struggling for words because this blew me away. This really had me, dumbfounded. The fact that they wanted to make this move was just crazy talk. It was like, are you in a completely different universe? You seen what Czechia's done the last few years? Because I have, and it's been quite impressive, to go from a team that, wasn't really in the conversation a few years ago to now being one of those teams where they're consistently in the top division. They've even now got themselves into Group A. In their first Olympic tournament, Czechia was in Group B. They weren't in Group A, they were in Group B. Then since then, they've managed to put themselves in a position where they're now one of the top 5 in the world rankings. They're pretty much in Group A as a guarantee now. So I do wonder what would happen to Czechia if they had been Group B this year. Would they have done well in that or not? I don't know. Because Pluto's been saying for a year now he thinks Sweden should be in Group A. And we're to him like, well, I can see your point, but that's not how it goes. It's not how it goes. Yeah, so I think it's impressive what Czechia's done the last 5 years to go from a team that nobody really pays attention to being now a nation where when it comes to World Championships, you're pretty much guaranteed to be in that conversation for at least the bronze medal at a minimum. So that's good. And I do think Czechia still will be in that conversation this year, but I think they're going to have company. I think, and this is what's exciting about having a World Championships after Olympic cycle, I think you're going to see teams you might not have thought of in a non-Olympic year maybe now making a bit of a ruckus. So I think Czechia and Finland are going to have some company when it comes to that fight for the bronze medal, because Switzerland are going to want to prove that Milano is not a one-off, and Sweden are going to literally want to right that wrong. Because for Sweden, yes, it was really great for them to get back to the the bronze medal game. So it got back to a medal game for the first time in a while. I think the last time they got to a medal game might have been Vancouver, when they were defending that silver medal. They won the Olympics before in that shot gold medal appearance in 2006. I think it might have been Vancouver was the last time Sweden had been in. Or was it 20? Or was it? No, hang on. Sorry. 2014. Sorry. I'm all over the place today, guys. I really don't know what it is. All over the place. So, no, sorry, it's 2014. 2010 was the last time they defended a silver medal. and then 2014. Oh yeah, remember now. So 2002, bronze medalist. 2006, silver medalist. 2010, defended the silver medal, but missed out on bronze. 2014, lost bronze to Alina Muller, and then 2018, 2022, nowhere close. Right. So it's been so many tournaments now. I'm trying to remember more. Probably that, yeah. So Sweden are going to want something to prove because this year's the first time they've been in a medal game since 2014. So they're going to want something to prove. So I think for this year's Worlds, we were looking at that bronze medal. You just know US and Canada are going to fight for this gold. You just know. So don't go there. So for that bronze medal, you're thinking there's now 4 nations in the mix rather than just being the straightforward Finland Czechia battle. So that's really exciting. That's really exciting. And I do believe that. I'm just going to double check this. Yes, Finland and Sweden are in the same group for Denmark. That's going to be so exciting. Yeah, Sweden and Finland are in Group B, along with Denmark. So Group B, this is funny. Group B for Denmark this year is kind of like a Scandinavia group. You got Denmark in there, you got Sweden in there, you got Finland in there, and then making up the numbers is Canada and Japan. Oh god. And then our group though, our group is kind of like a neighbourly group because obviously you got Germany, Switzerland, Austria, who are all very close to one another. Thank you, Hazel, for that geography lesson last year in Basel. And then Czechia's there, which is Europe, so yeah, close, but probably not neighbourly. And then we're in there, so we're the only non-European nation in Group A for Denmark this year, but we just know we're gonna whoop their backsides altogether. So Finland and Sweden are in the same group, so that'll be interesting. Especially, of course, the battle to try and get into the knockouts from Group B. It's gonna be interesting. So, I think it's gonna be interesting. I mean, was this a move that needed to be made? No. Could it be a good move? Yes, because we know Brian Idalski's got that experience from coaching China. Yes, China did not have a great year in 2022, but you could argue they were the host nation that year and there wasn't that much expectations of them. Now it's completely different because now he's with a team that has got very, and I do mean very, high expectations when it comes to the medal games. Because obviously Czechia have been in the medal match in every World Championship since 2022. They've won 2 bronzes and 2 4th-place finishes. So there's going to be high expectations for Czechia to go to that medal game in Denmark. How well will Brian Idalski do as a coach? I don't know. And I think that's going to be one of the talking points that we will do when we do like the recap. So obviously after this year's World Championships, we're going to be doing, and it's going to be an annual thing now. We're going to be doing an episode where we will basically me, Lady, and Ipso wants to put in a few words and then Wolf as well. We're going to look back to the tournament, pick out what we thought were some of the high points, but what were some of the low points, and what were some of the interesting takeaways from those World Championships. And I think this will be one of those takeaways that we'll look on, because we'll be criticise on what happens with Czechia. So this will be one of those things we'll talk about going forward. Yeah. So that'll be, and we'll be recording that literally straight after the World Championships this year. So there's going to be no rest for us when we hit November. It's going to be full on, because obviously we've got World Championships, and then you're looking at maybe like a week or 2 after that, is when we'll have season 4. So, yeah. So when November rolls around this year, we're going to be super busy and straight back into it. So, we can't, so even though it's going to be long, it's going to be painful, we kind of need to make the most of this summer vacation, because when it goes, we're going to be straight back into it, and it's going to be busy, busy, busy. When is it not busy? Yeah. So, it's an interesting choice. I mean, I'm literally just processing this as I just found out. So, yeah. So, it's, I mean, go with someone that can be trustworthy, you know. I mean, we now know what Brian Idalski's like as a coach. We see what he's had as a full season behind the bench of a PWHL team. He hasn't done that bad. I mean, 6th place for the Organized is actually not that bad, because at one point, it did look like both Detroit and Garnized were going to be those bottom 2 teams, despite the high expectations put on them. So, the fact that he actually managed to get that team to 6th place, and the Garnized, even though they had a very tall order, they weren't really mathematically out of the playoffs till like the last 2 weeks. So, even though it was like long shot, they weren't mathematically eliminated until like the last fortnight, which is not bad. That's not bad going. The fact that the Golden Eyes were still able to be a competitive roster is brilliant. I kind of think the Golden Eyes in year 3 are what the Sirens were in year 1. Whereas you give it like a couple more games on the calendar, they might have got back in. Vancouver were cooking gas at the right time. It's just unfortunately the damage was already done in that homestand coming out of La Cortina. Me personally, all kind of felt that homestand the Vancouver guys had coming after La Cortina, that was going to be either make or break. And unfortunately for them, it was a break because they only got 1 win in that homestand. And that was against New York. That's when me personally were in Grand Prix watching us take on Ottawa. But they did get points in 2 of them though. They did get points from Ottawa. Although Ottawa could have had that. And then what would have happened then, eh? Ooh. It's interesting to see how there's always some couple of games you look at and think, oh, if that gone a different way, and maybe this team would have got it, not that one. Yeah. So I think it's going to be tough to try and find someone worthy to take over from Carla, but I think we've got the right pick. It'll be interesting to see what he does going forward. Can he get this team back into the Winter Olympics again in 4 years' time? Can he build on what Carla's done in the World Championships the last 4 years? We'll see. So the World Championships now have got a whole lot bigger for Czechia, because you're testing out a brand new coach, and if he's not as good, then yeah. I've said before, I'll say again, I really hope Czechia does not go backwards, because Czechia I do have as one of those nations that can easily take that next step. They're so close, guys. They are so close to getting where they want to be. It's gonna take us that little bit more time for them to get there. So yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting to see where this is gonna go. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see how Brian Idalski will do. Obviously, he didn't do that well with China a few years ago. It's crazy how obviously last year when he got announced, how Lady Me should have recognised him. Because obviously, me and Lady did obviously watch Beijing. Obviously, Beijing was my 4th Olympics. So we really should have recognised him, but I think because of how badly China performed, we didn't really remember that much from him. It's also kind of like how I should have recognised Chris Spa when he got announced last year. So obviously his previous job was with the San Diego Gulls, so kind of like a fall in the sky in my Barracuda. It's interesting because the San Diego Gulls are a team on paper the Barracuda always should be able to have a good match against and easily beat, but it's never been the case. So I think if you're gonna have to replace Carla with somebody, I think you've gone for the right pick. And the fact we've now seen him in action in the PWHL helps as well. He's more than 25 years of experience coach with his hockey, so you can't go wrong there. We'll just see how the results will do going forward. So I hope he does well, because this is a nation that I've got high hopes for. going forward. So we'll see what happens. Okay. So I think that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, take care.